What if you're looking for somebody that doesn't have trauma? I was on social media the other day scrolling on Instagram threads, and I read something that really caught my attention. And it was this person talking about how basically, apparently, there are people out there that don't have trauma. And when I say trauma, I mean specifically childhood trauma, right? The reality of the matter for people that don't know, it's just not true. Nobody leaves childhood without some level of trauma, whether minimal or severe. And there are people that leave childhood with less severe trauma. These are the people that had healthier childhoods. These are likely the people that were not raised in survival. Just to make it clear so that people understand, there are such things as survival based childhoods, while there also are such things as healthier childhoods. Survival based childhoods are usually the childhoods with people that come out with more severe trauma. These are the childhoods where people are not taught healthy boundaries, they are not allowed to individuate and differentiate, and therefore the marring and scathing is far worse. Survival based childhoods are usually where children learn these severe defense mechanisms, even maladaptive defense mechanisms, right? They usually have to be somebody else other than who they are to receive love, right? And it's severely traumatizing and it leads to a lot of fucked up things in regards to their ego state over the course of their early adolescence and then into adulthood, right? People in healthier childhoods, they got the healthy boundaries early on. They got the individuation and differentiation, what I like to call the healthy triad of childhood, right? But the fascinating thing is that there are actually people out there that believe that they'll find somebody who is perfect, who doesn't have any trauma at all whatsoever. Again, to make it very clear, this doesn't exist. Now, there are people out there that have less trauma. Like I was saying before, they came from healthier childhoods, right? But the reality of the matter is that everyone has some level of trauma. When it comes to looking for somebody, in this case specifically a partner, because I can imagine that that's what we're referring to, right? The reality of the matter is that the aim, the overall goal, is to find somebody whose damage complements yours, right? Because you're not going to find somebody that doesn't have trauma. It just doesn't exist. You might find somebody that has less trauma, right? Less severe trauma. They had a healthier childhood. These are the individuals that are usually more successful in relationships. Why? Well, here's the fascinating part. If you believe that you're going to find somebody that doesn't have any trauma at all whatsoever, you're going to have a distorted standard for your relationship. And you're likely going to be super critical about the person, right? You're likely to look at them and to wait until you find one small thing that is imperfect about them. And then you're likely to jump right back on Tinder or Bumble or wherever the fuck you came from to find the person. Because you're going to be like, oh, wait a second, this person wasn't perfect like I thought they were. Fuck, let's go find somebody else. That's not healthy. And isn't it fascinating and even humorous that the people that think that there are people out there that have no trauma at all whatsoever are the ones that were actually severely fucked up in childhood, right? The individuals that see everything for what it is, oh yeah, we all have shit. We've all experienced stuff early on in childhood. They're the ones that understand that everyone has trauma. And they're also the same ones that would put more effort into relationships. And it would usually be more on the side of effortless, because you would understand that you are required to show up and work through stuff in your relationships, right? That's the reality of it. There is no such thing as an individual out there that has left childhood without some level of trauma. That's the reality of it. And I am absolutely fascinated to see that the people that tend to have more fucked upness, meaning more severe trauma, are the same ones that believe that they can find somebody out there that's actually perfect. In other words, oh, that person doesn't have any trauma. Where did you come from? You're a no, nope, 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 nope. Don't idolize them. They have shit just like everybody else. And quite frankly, the people that are the healthiest are the likeliest to call out the people that are idolizing them and making them out to be this shiny object that they're not. Because they're not interested in being shined up and polished up to be more than they are. It'll only fuck up the dynamic. Hey, let me make this very clear right now that I know that you are idolizing me. You're putting me up on this pedestal. Oh my god, look at this person. You're so amazing. No, I'm a human. I'm a human. Just like you. I have shit as well. I've discovered my shit a lot better than a lot of other people have. Not to make myself out to be better than anybody else, because I'm not. I'm just a human. No more, no less at the end of the day. But you fucking hate to hear that because you are very used to idolizing people and making people out to be people that apparently don't have trauma. It doesn't exist. Everybody was traumatized to some level of degree, and that's the reality of it. So your pursuit to look for somebody that doesn't actually exist, I mean, see it for what it is. You're looking for somebody that doesn't exist. You believe, if you do believe, that some people don't have trauma, that some people were not traumatized. It just doesn't exist. It's not real. And let me make this very clear that for the longest time I was also critical and I would like nitpick different things. And the second somebody sneezed, ugh, nasty. Get away from me. I want somebody else. It's a normal. I mean, this is not actual. That never actually happened. I'm just coming up with an absurd example, right? Because people absolutely flip out over absurd human behavior. When I said people absurdly, there we go. People absurdly flip out over totally normal human behavior and they run away. And they're like, oh my God, he breathed. Oh my God, she breathed. Oh my God, this, that, and the other. We're all human. We all have it. We all have humanness. We all have some level of fucked upness. That's the reality of it. But I'm just so fascinated that it tends to be the people that are emotionally, I would say even severely emotionally underdeveloped. No offense, no attack to anybody. But these are the people that tend to believe that there is perfect Prince Charming out there that's going to save them. The fascinating thing about that, too, is that that usually has to do with the narcissistic fantasy. Oh my goodness. That's an entire different area that I could get into. And I could explore it a little bit in this. Um, Narcissistic fantasies are fascinating because they're more oftentimes very much originated in um, neurosis and psychosis, which is just basically psychosis itself is basically being out of touch with reality, which is what narcissists are, right? The narcissistic fantasy is very much based in being out of touch with reality, right? They believe that somebody else is going to fulfill their fantasy. Their fantasy in and of itself is very much out of touch with reality. But I can also parallel that and equate that with this whole thing of people believing that there's somebody out there that escaped childhood without any marring or scathing any trauma. That is essentially in and of itself a fantasy because it's not true. It's not real. It's not paralleled with reality, right? So looking at that for what it is, how actually fucked up is that? You're believing in a fantasy that doesn't exist. If you believe that people out there is at least somebody out there that doesn't have trauma, you're believing in a fantasy that doesn't exist. That's fucked up. And your lack of ability to understand that you're not going to find somebody out there that is without, like it's like it's wild. It's wild. I'm really glad that I brought that up because that's a very important thing to understand about this whole thing. So in case I haven't made it clear, which I can imagine by this point I have, nobody, not a single person on the face of this planet, is without childhood trauma. Some people have had less trauma, uh, depending on how healthy their childhood was. Some people have had more trauma, depending on how survival based their childhood was, right? But you're not going to find somebody out there that is perfect and without trauma. It just doesn't exist. And you will also find people out there that go through relationship after relationship after relationship after relationship, being very critical on their partners and being like, oh, you sneezed. That's fucking gross. Goodbye. Oh, you farted. That's fucking gross. Goodbye. Oh, you smell bad. That's fucking gross. Goodbye. On to the next one. And it's fascinating because, our parents and our grandparents, they didn't have dating apps growing up. Um, so that's not to say that they didn't cheat or that they didn't fuck up their relationships in different ways, but they definitely didn't have the convenience of experiencing unhappiness in relationships because they believe that relationships, or they believe that the person they're with is supposed to be perfect. And jumping on the dating app, jumping back on the dating app, and being like, I can just get the fuck out of this relationship so easily. Wow, I don't have to put in any effort. And that's part of the reason why we see people jump right back on dating apps is because, oh my god, I thought this person was perfect. They're not my fucking Prince Charming. Let's find the next one. I know he's out there. Doesn't exist. Period.